Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey always reigns supreme. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, let's drop the puck and get this party started.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night in New York. Welcome to the program, everyone. It is Sunday, October 19th, 2025. Coming to you live from Florida Media here in Rockville Center. Have an absolutely stupendous show coming up for you tonight. Sitting here with me is Mr. Arthur Staple. My name is Sean Cuthbert. Welcome to Hockey Night in New York. Arthur, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you? We got some hockey to talk about. Finally.
Yeah. Some ups and downs. Yes. Some highs and lows.
Yes, a bit of a roller coaster for sure.
Yes, indeed. But before we get into that, I want to tell you about our sponsors. We are proud to be sponsored by Knock Hockey, the all-time classic made in the USA. Get your board at knockhockey.com. Also proud to be sponsored by Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein, attorneys at law, ready to fight for you. Check them out at razorandkniff.com. That is RAISERANDKENNIFF.com for a free consultation. And folks, if you're hanging out with us in the chat and you want to get your questions in, type in Questions Brewing followed by whatever you want to ask, and we'll get to it later during the Questions Brewing segment. So, moving on to the hockey portion of the program, let's talk about some games, because last time we got together, it was pre-game one.
We had two shows before there was one game.
Yeah, a little uncommon.
That was a lot of previews.
And somehow we packed in a lot of content to those two shows. We did, but now we finally get to talk about pucks that have dropped on the ice. The regular season has started for the Islanders. They are 2-3 out of the gate. A little shakier prior to the last two games. Started out 0-3, and we were all wondering, looking at the schedule, if it might have been an 0-5 start with teams like Edmonton and Ottawa in the way, but the Islanders pulled off two victories. But let's rewind a little bit, go to those first three games, talk about the rough start. We were at Borelli's down in Long Beach, had a good time down there, but the Islanders didn't have a good time in Pittsburgh. No. Started the season with the loss. Rough goal there to start. Sorokin couldn't control a rebound, ends up in the net, and I feel like that kind of set the tone there, and the Islanders are playing catch-up for the rest of the game, and they could not pull it off.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into the good news of the Edmonton and Ottawa wins.
Yeah.
But that one, also just the way that game went, where they were, kind of trying to get back into it, took the lead very briefly. Pittsburgh came back. I think that's been a theme so far, that the Islanders have had some okay stretches, some good stretches, but not enough consistency. And that really reared its ugly head in that game in Pittsburgh, where they gave up way too much. Again, something that's been a bad theme so far, even through the wins.
Yes.
But to a Pittsburgh team that's actually playing pretty well, but is not really equipped to be such a high-powered offense, and the Islanders really had a lot to clean up off that game. And then the next two at home, just games that I feel like we've seen before with this Islanders team in the last few years, where, again, a couple of good things, Sorokin having some good moments, giving up a couple of softies in each one of them, and just not able to get back into it. But, the thing I think that maybe people wanted to take away from those two home losses was seeing Matthew Schaefer play the way that he played, starting to emerge, become a guy who's getting noticed not just by Islander fans and people on Long Island, but people everywhere as the number one pick, who's really stepping into a pretty big role here. But that was kind of a nice positive to set the stage for the two wins. But those first three losses were tough. They scored some goals, seemed like they were doing some good things, just giving up way too much. Not enough strong defense, not enough strong goaltending.
Yeah, and you look at the next two games against Washington and Winnipeg. I mean, they go down 4-0 by the end of the second period against Washington, down 4-1 by the end of the second period against Winnipeg. And for whatever reason, we're going to get into those reasons, but this team just has a really hard time not only, allowing goals in the net, but chances aplenty, as we talked about before the show here. It's not just the soft goals given up by Sorokin, it's the players in front of them allowing those to come as well.
Yeah, and they're not necessarily built. We talked a lot in those first two shows about how Patrick Roy wants the team to play. He wants up-tempo. He wants everybody up the ice. He wants quick transitions out of the defensive zone. And we did wonder, is this roster capable of playing that way? And you can still wonder that, because we don't know if they're capable of doing that. And I think some of the failings we saw, particularly with the Alex Romanov, Tony DeAngelo pairing, and Romanov ended up having a real good game against Edmonton, got hurt, ended up missing the game on Saturday. But the first three games for that pair were really rough.
Right.
And I just feel like outside of Schaefer, do they have a guy who can make those kind of quick transitions? Do they have the kind of forwards that can kind of facilitate down low in the defensive zone and get quickly up the ice? Maybe not. And maybe Patrick Roy is making some adjustments that we're going to find out later on are things that he tried to just sort of adjust a little bit in these last two games that helped them be more successful. But I think those first three really saw whether they were adjusting to a little bit more commitment to that system or whether this is just a roster that's built a certain way and they have to play that way. It wasn't successful, those first three.
No, it wasn't, and then we'll move forward to Thursday against Edmonton. 4-2 win, come from behind. Horvat with the very interesting hat trick, all sorts of ways. Shorthanded power play goal and empty net goal. And Riddick with a strong start here for the Islanders. He comes in because of the struggles that you would assume of Ilya Sorokin.
Yeah, and that was, it was super important, obviously, to get the win. It was important to get Riddick that game. If Patrick Roy chanicked maybe and changed his schedule and put Sorokin in that one and they lose again, you're really letting your starting goalie drift. You haven't given your backup, who's an NHL veteran. We certainly wondered about what kind of quality he was going to give them, but he's got to get some games. They've made him the number 2 goalie with Semyon Varlamov out.
Yep.
So it was good that they stuck to the program with their plan. Good that David Riddick came up with some big saves. Certainly the biggest one, Connor McDavid coming in there. I think it was still 2-2. Connor McDavid did them a favor, I think, also at 2-2, where he passed up that golden chance looking for Troy Stetcher. So if you're out there, Connor, thanks for that one. But I think the Islanders, again, being in those close games, it's that old Islander DNA, really. We've seen it for a decade now, where they're in close games and they feel okay playing them. They get a couple of good saves. They clamp down a little bit more. I think we'll talk more about that too. The Adam Pelech-Ryan Pollock pair, I think, has really shown out very well these last 2 games. I think they've kind of stepped up and said, okay, it's our job to be, whether it's shutting down Connor McDavid. You certainly saw Pelech, saw a lot of his old Erie teammate in McDavid and did a great job on him. And then in Ottawa, which was a little bit more of a free-for-all, those guys were still really positive in terms of suppressing play and chances. That's what you need out of those guys, I think, especially to just sort of calm the waters a little bit. And I understand Ottawa scored 4, and it was a wild game with 26 high-danger chances between the two teams. But if you can get that kind of play out of Pelech and Pollock, if you can reduce Schaefer's minutes and your need to rely on his young legs and kind of worry about wearing him out, and with Romanov out to kind of make up for that Boquist-D'Angelo pairing, which was not great.
Fair.
So when Romanov can come back in, he's not playing heavy minutes either to let him ease back into it. So I think that was a pretty big key, and obviously Horvat, we talked about him a lot in that first show. He's a guy who maybe not a traditional number 1 center, but obviously he can shoot it. He can get open. He made a great play to kind of get up the ice in that shorthanded situation. Pajot knew exactly where he was going to be. He was in his office in the bumper on the power play, and Barzal laid a perfect pass.
Beautiful pass.
That looked like a little like drop pass, like a little sky hook alley oop type thing. Dropped it right on his stick, and the empty netter, obviously unselfish from Jonathan Drouin.
Yeah, that was nice. That was cool.
So yeah, I mean, and then he had another big one in Ottawa too. So you get your goals from your top guys, you get good play from your top guys, you get good play from your top defensive defensemen. It adds up to a couple of wins that they very much needed. Yeah,
I think if you're looking for something encouraging out of the way they've been playing is that they've been resilient so far, right? They go down 0-3 in the standings, right? They come into this tough game against Edmonton. They find a way to battle back against them and win. They go down 2-0 to Ottawa, find a way to battle back multiple times, right? Multiple leads were given up there. They come back each time, and then they get that big late goal from Anders Lee, kind of bodies the defenseman there and clowns him a little bit. And, a huge goal, huge win. And now instead of looking at 0-4 or 0-5, we're looking at 2-3, and they're only 4 points out of the first place spot in the Metro now, Arthur.
I don't know if we need to look at the standings just yet, but yeah, better than looking down at the bottom and wondering when is this going to happen.
Right. So yeah, and now maybe we can focus in a little bit on just some of the performances here through these games. The new blood shining through here a little bit. You get Shabanov, you get Schaefer, you get Drouin all getting their first goals. Even Heineman has a couple of goals already. How do you think those guys look so far?
I mean, we could talk
other
about
than the
Schaefer.
Obvious,
yeah, we could talk about Schaefer for the whole show. Clearly.
Right,
this kid is he's one of one. It's unbelievable the way that he skates. He just looks like he never gets tired. And I get the temptation of Patrick Roy, and we again talked about it on both shows. Like, you're going to be tempted to play this kid a lot, and 26 minutes in those 2 home losses, probably not what you want to see. But you do understand he is the only guy on that defense that can kind of create that offense. And I think one of the things outside of his skating and his poise, he gets his shots through. I think everybody that's, rolls their eyes, or if you're on social media talking about whether it's Scott Mayfield or Ryan Pollock or Adam Pellick, not a lot of shots get through from those guys. They're not as crafty at the point. This kid gets his shot through, which can create all kinds of chaos. It's not an incredible shot. He's not blasting the puck or wiring wrist shots that are 90 miles an hour from the point. But as soon as you get that puck through to the lower half of the zone, anything can happen. And I think he certainly understands that. So I'm interested to see how they continue to use him. I thought he looked like a really talented 18-year-old in these last two games. There were some rough moments, especially in Ottawa. It's going to happen.
Sure.
He got spun around by Long Island's own Shane Pinto, I believe, on that one
right.
play.
Yeah.
So, you got to take the growing pains, but I think the minutes were a lot more manageable. He's going to get power play time. He's clearly the best option to run that top power play unit. They produced the goal right off the face-off there where he gets it down to Barzal. I think he knows where the puck needs to go. I'm sure the confidence will build. So, yeah, we could dive into him all day long.
Well, speaking of the confidence, it's already there. That's what impresses me so much about him is there's no fear in his game at all, which is exactly what you want to see out of your young players. Now, maybe you want to dial back some of the mistakes and maybe some of the risks will kind of dial back as time goes on. But he's just looked super confident, and Patrick Waugh commented on it too. He said no hesitation, right? Yeah. He just knows the play he wants to make, and he makes it. And he just looks like he's been out there for more than 5 games.
Yeah, and even the play he made that got Pinto the penalty shot, where he gets the puck first. And I understand there's a lot of debate. The rule around that has changed in the last few years. I think even if you get the puck, if you get the skates, it's still a penalty. I don't know that you can call it a penalty shot if the puck is off the guy's stick. But the ref did. Sorokin made a big save, probably the biggest save he's made all year. But still, that play by Schaefer, and we saw it a couple of times in preseason, where he just has the ability to recover any situation, no matter where he is on the ice. He is going all out to get back and try to make a play. And it was a great play, just resulted in probably what should have been a penalty, but ended up giving him a penalty shot, and it really didn't hurt the Islanders that much. So you don't want to take any of that away from him. I think the risk in his game, perfectly appropriate for a guy his age and for the situation the Islanders are in, which is they don't have anybody like him, so might as well let him go and do what he's going to do.
As you've sort of commented already, that is their game is risk at this point with what they're fielding out there.
Not intentionally.
Right, exactly.
He's got intentional risk in his game because of his skating, but maybe the Islanders as a team could take some of that risk out of their game.
We can only hope. Let's move on to some of these other guys here, Drouin, Shabanov, Heineman. How do you like those guys so far?
I think Drouin is as advertised. Maybe he'll even a little bit better than I thought he was going to be.
Point per game so far?
In terms of just meshing. He's really meshed well with Bo Horvat. I just like the kind of the solid play. I obviously had the hit at the end of the Penguins game and ended up getting suspended.
Right.
But scored a goal there. Not afraid to shoot the puck. I think maybe he came in with more of a reputation as a distributor than a shooter. But I think he understands. He's a pro. He's a guy who's been around, and the Islanders don't always get guys like that are still maybe in the tail end of their prime in free agency. It was a good coup by Matthew Darche to get this guy.
Yeah.
And you want those kind of just complementary players who know what to do, know who to get the puck to, know how to get the puck to the net, and understand how to play in with talented guys. And so the Islanders have Horvat, they have Barzal, they have Schaefer. He fits right in with that group on power play 1, and hopefully you'll see a little bit more from him going forward. And as far as the other two guys go, nothing but positives for me for those two guys. I didn't have tons of expectations for Shabanov. I thought he struggled a little bit in preseason, but guy can really wire it. That goal where he came around the net in Ottawa was a big one. I don't think he ended up getting credited for it.
No, he did not.
But he understands, and I think if he's going to play opposite Anders Lee, that is a good situation for him because Anders will draw a lot of the bigger players to him. Shabanov, I think, he's been lit up a couple of times too. He's a little guy. You got to be aware of how fast and big these guys are in the NHL compared to the KHL. But I think he's handled himself really well. He's bounced back from both those big hits, and he's putting up some decent offensive numbers, good situations, good chance generation. That's what you want to see from him, especially because he's not really in that prime top 6 role yet. So doing the right things. And Heineman hasn't looked out of place in the top 6 for me. He's a battler, and he's obviously got some skill. He can shoot the
puck. And a shot,
Yep. So, I think they're trying to maybe force feed him a little bit of that, get that mindset of being more of a scorer, more of a guy who's up the ice rather than defending and kind of doing the bottom 6 things that he did in Montreal. And I think he's handled it well. So, contributed a couple of good goals so far.
Yeah, so far so good. They're all on the board already. They all have goals themselves, so that's pretty good to see. Anthony Duclair, he's got a goal on the board. How do you like what he's done so far?
Not bad. Not bad. I think the knock on Duclair throughout his career is that he's maybe disappeared a little bit for stretches.
Right.
And I thought, last year he started off so well and then got hurt in a major injury pretty early on, and that really kind of scuttled whatever effect he could have had on Barzal on that line.
It almost feels like he's a new player this season as well. Yeah.
So I think he's still kind of finding his way. I'd be interested to see where he ends up kind of falling if one of these other guys, whether it's Shabanov or Simon Holmstrom, starts to pop a little bit more, and if they have to drop Duclair down a little bit, we'll see where that goes. But I think there's some encouraging signs from Duclair in terms of just his getting his speed back and being a little bit more engaged physically.
Any thoughts on McLean coming in for Siplikov?
I got to be honest, I didn't love the decision.
Yeah.
I think Siplikov really hasn't done anything wrong for me. I didn't watch every second of practice and preseason to know, but I feel like he was sort of pigeonholed a little bit as that fourth line guy right out of the gate in terms of training camp. And, you have to work your way up. So those are what the coaches decide. And I don't know that he really showed a lot, but I don't know that that's his prime role as being a 9-10 minute a night guy. I don't think he's going to show very much doing that. So to pull him out for Kyle McLean, they've obviously won, every coach. I feel like we're back in the Jack Capuano era. It's just like, nope, we keep the lineup the same if we win. And everyone will always make fun of Cappy for that. But that is every coach. Yeah. They're all like that. So McLean stays, and Kyle's a battler. He really had an incredibly rough season last year. And you wondered, with the change in administration, with his dad leaving, with Lou leaving, whether he was really even going to have a spot on this team. But he's earned a spot as an extra, and if he can continue to do what he's been doing, fourth line has been a little bit shaky. Certainly was in Ottawa with him and Holmstrom and Casey Cizikas, and that to me is the difference. That Kyle McLean is kind of a duplicate of what Casey gives you, whereas Siplikov gives you a little bit different look. Right. He's got more offensive firepower, you should say, a little bit more skill. So maybe that, you kind of switch that up, and depending on who you want in there and who your opponent is. So, we'll go with it. They've won 2 games. You can't complain about that. We'll see how they use that fourth line going forward.
Sure, absolutely. And we have a 5-game sample size of the special teams. The power play has put in a few goals, some success there. Penalty kill, struggling a bit. What do you see in there?
I think we're seeing a lot of the same things we've been seeing, unfortunately, which is not getting the timely save and just not being able to clear a puck. It's incredible. Even the 5-on-6 situation. It just I'm sure that the lack of success that they had last year still is in their minds because it's a lot of the same guys.
For sure.
So I understand that part of it. That there's a mental side to this game. It's hard to flush all that stuff away.
Yeah.
But they've got to be able to be better with this. And obviously you score a shorty on the Oilers, that's going to build some confidence because you do want to be an aggressive penalty kill. You do want to be able to produce. They've got guys that have produced shorthanded situations before. And I'd kind of, I think I'd like to, it's interesting to me not to dwell on the negatives as they've won 2 in a row, but Simon Holmstrom's usage has been pretty curious to me. He's kind of fallen out of the rotation of penalty kill where he, 5 shorthanded goals 2 seasons ago. You'd feel like he's a young guy. You want to find a spot on the PK for that.
For sure.
Guy.
Yeah.
So him being only like an 8-9 minute a night guy right now is a little bit puzzling to me. And I think he's a guy you do need to get going. So I think PK sorted itself out, and I feel like the way that Pelech and Polak played these last 2 games is really encouraging because those are your main penalty kill guys, along with Mayfield, and maybe that can kind of get them going and spill over into the special teams area.
Now, you mentioned that about Holmstrom, and maybe just thinking about this whole squad as a whole, particularly the forwards. Is this just Patrick All waiting for somebody to kind of seize those spots in the roster? Yeah. He's not sure what he has yet.
I think every coach plays the veterans, and it's, whatever team that you follow, you're always going to say, "Oh, this guy's got to play the kids," and it's right. We go through this no matter what.
There's one kid playing a lot.
Yes, if you can be that special, you can play as much as you want. Yeah. But I think they've been waiting for Holmstrom to kind of, show out a little bit more. Like he didn't really do it in the preseason. He doesn't have that kind of flash, I think, to his his individual game. He's more of a complementary guy, even though he's got that great shot and has the potential to be a 25, 30 goal guy. So yeah, I think there's an element of waiting for that, but I think also there's a situation of you have Heineman there, you had some of the veteran guys that you had up there. Do you want, whether it's Kyle Palmieri, Anders Lee, do you want those guys in the way of Simon Holmstrom, or do you want to give him a little bit more of a longer leash and let him run with it, see what he can do with it? Because you know that he can score. We've seen it before. It's not total unknown situation here. So, yeah, I mean, they're a deeper forward group than they've had in the last few years, which we talked about.
Yes.
And I think that's a good thing, and you have to earn it. But I would like to see him have a little bit more impact on the game, whether that's from his own few minutes or from the coach giving him a little bit more.
For sure. And I guess to wrap this little segment up here, what are your concerns so far for this team?
Scoring
we have about 40 minutes left in the show.
Friend Steve Valaket has the Clearsight hockey site that I cite a lot on social media. And it's 5 games, very small sample size, but the Islanders are giving up 8.2 high danger chances a game. That's 32nd. The 31st team is giving up 7. That is a big gap between 32 and 31. And the good teams are up there at like 3.5, 4. So you can't, there's no way they can be successful doing this. 13 high danger chances to the Senators, who, thank God, they were missing Brady Tkachuk. They're still a little bit of a mess. I think their back end is still a little bit weak. We certainly saw that with the Anders Lee, Jordan Spence moment.
Yes.
And their goaltending is a little bit shaky. But the Islanders have to clean it up. And they're playing in a division with the Devils, who are playing really well and keeping thetheir chances down, with the Rangers, who are not playing that well but still keeping their chances down. Even the Penguins are becoming a team, as we saw them play. They're 4-2. They're off to a decent start, way better than people thought they'd be.
Right.
So you're going to see a lot of these teams, and certainly the Atlantic is just filled with like heavy teams that can defend really well. And a lot of those teams are off to good starts, whether it's Detroit, Montreal, Florida's obviously going to be there. Toronto's going to be there. These are all teams that are tightening up a little bit, not playing wide open. The Islanders can't be the only team that's trying to contend for the playoffs and trading chances, because they don't have the skill level to do that.
Right. And what can we attribute to all of these high danger chances against? Just a systems thing, coverage thing, a little bit of both?
It's surprising to me, because we understand the way Patrick Roy wants them to play.
Right.
He wants them to play up-tempo. That doesn't mean leaving your responsibilities behind in the defensive zone.
Right.
You got to turn pucks over. You got to get up the ice. I think we've seen it a couple of times where they start to kind of fly the zone before they've got settled possession. We saw that, I think, in the Washington game, where everyone was kind of up the ice, and all of a sudden the puck turns around and it's back in their net, because it's a 3-on-1 down low, because 4 guys are thinking like, oh, here we go, we got to get going.
Yes.
So I don't know if it's a communication issue with the coaching staff and the players, but it's not a new issue. So I feel like, is it personnel? Does Patrick Roy have to sort of amend his system a little bit more and say, okay, I don't know if we can play this way for 60 minutes. Maybe when there's times we can do it, but there's also times we need to be a little bit more settled, a little bit more structured, a little bit patient, slow things down, because it's not other than Matthew Schaefer and Matt Barzal, it's not a very fast group.
Right.
And I think you have to just sort of recognize your limitations as a roster. You can't change those things around in the middle of the season. So, yeah, I don't think the coaching staff, they're all veteran guys on that coaching staff, they know that this is unsustainable. So I feel like there are going to be some adjustments coming soon if they haven't already been in there. And certainly this last game, even with the win, maybe the biggest example of we can't trade chances with these teams, because it's not going to work out for us.
So we need to see some tinkering.
I think so, and a little bit of willingness from the players to recognize that they've got to maybe meet their coach halfway and not insist on changes back. And I think some of it has to do with the way that Romanov-D'Angelo pairing is playing. I don't think Tony DeAngelo can get up the ice or get the puck up the ice if his partnership is really struggling. Romanov is supposed to be the anchor there, and also Romanov can get up the ice too. So if those guys who are playing a lot of minutes are struggling, and then you've got to rely on Matthew Schaefer to be the only guy who can carry the mail, again, we get into a situation of we're playing this kid too much, and he is not necessarily perfectly adept at this system either. And physically, I don't know that he's able to handle, fending off guys who are coming in 3-on-2, 4-on-3 all the time. So I think there's going to be some tinkering if there's not already, and I think we're going to see some results of that soon.
All right, well, speaking of results, they were poor in the beginning, 0-3, followed up with 2 wins, 2-3 now to start the season. Let's sum it up in song, Arthur. What is the anthem this week?
Well, as we were talking about some things that we've seen that have been all too familiar, I went with one of my favorite new bands from Leeds. They're called Sudliner, and their song Old Habits, which is more about trying to get rid of these old habits.
Okay.
Modestly successful, I think, so far, and Islanders are turning it around. So, I think when you're dealing with emo punk, that genre, it's not always the most positive, but I think we're getting there.
I'm not familiar with these guys. I'm going to have to check them out.
They're good. They're good.
So there you have it, Arthur's anthem. We're going to take a break, then we're putting Sorokin on the line.
Knock hockey from when we were kids. It's an absolute legendary game that they stopped making a couple years ago. However, it's back, baby. You can go to knockhockey.com, that's N-O-K hockey.com, and get it for your kids or your nieces and nephews or some random neighborhood kid, because they're all going to need it, because otherwise they're going to be playing video games for the next 6 months. And if you don't have kids, get it for yourself, or better yet, your girlfriend. She'll be hurt and confused at first, but once she starts slamming that puck around, she's going to love you forever. Or at least the game. Go to knockhockey.com. It's a little pricey, I'm not going to lie, but it's made with real wood by hand in Michigan. When's the last time you heard of a product being made like that? This holiday season, be an absolute legend. Make everyone happy. Bring the family together. Go to knockhockey.com.
Attention all artists, storytellers, and creators of all kinds. It's time to make your content stand out above the rest, and Floored Media is the place to make your visions become a reality. Maybe you want to elevate your podcast and add some video, or turn that novel you wrote into an audiobook, or maybe you just need the right space to produce your daily vlog. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, Floored Media has the professional facilities, exceptional staff, and intimate atmosphere to breathe life into your creative passions at every step of the process.
Hope you enjoyed the ads. Now let's get back to Hockey Night in New York.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get back to Hockey Night in New York. It is time for On the Line, presented by Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein, attorneys at law, ready to fight for you. And tonight we are putting Ilya Sorokin on the line. That's right. He has struggled out of the gate here in the early going. Let's just call it what it is. 4 games, 4 goals against. In each of those 4 games, he's only got 1 win to his name so far. Arthur, what's happening between the pipes there, bud?
I think it's maybe chicken or the egg situation where he's seen a lot of rubber, a lot of high quality situations,
right?
And also he's been a little bit wanting, I guess, in some of those situations. Some of the soft goals that he's given up, you definitely don't want to see. We mentioned it in the first segment, the penalty shot save on Shane Pinto.
Needed that.
Right. Absolute necessary to have. And certainly after the game, nice to hear that he hasn't lost a sense of humor where he said it's like a Western shot. I think that's a little bit of his acknowledgement that he's seen a little too much. I think looking on Steve Valiquette's site, which does such good metrics on goalies, expected goals for all the goalies in the league, far and away the leader in terms of, I think he's seen maybe 107 chances, 16.5 expected goals, which is a lot, but you also expect your number 1 goalie to have an actual goal number way lower than that, and he's given up 16. So he's right on even with that, and you don't see that with Igor Shesterkin, you don't see that with Connor Hellebuck. You need to see Sorokin be a number 1 goalie, be a guy who's stealing some wins for these guys, and we haven't seen it yet, and we certainly talked about it before the season started. There's no plan B here. This is the guy.
Right. Yeah. He's got to do it.
He needs to get right. Again, I felt like seeing David Riddick perform the way he did against Edmonton is encouraging because you at least know that you've got a backup who can step in if Sorokin needs an extra day or 2 of rest, an extra day or 2 of practice, an extra day or 2 just reset mentally because of what he's seen so far and what he's not been able to accomplish.
Right.
You can go to Riddick for a couple of games in a row at least. But this is the guy. Ilya is the guy. They're not trading him. They're not doing anything.
Right.
Whatever.
He's going to be around for a while.
Whatever fantasy thoughts anybody's got about
about
Ilya Sorokin not being on this team or not being the number 1 goalie, he is the guy. So it encouraging signs in Ottawa. Just getting the first win. Hopefully that kind of gets his mind right, and hopefully the team around him plays a little bit tighter in front of him because he's just under assault, basically.
Well, speaking of getting his mind right, you look at these soft goals that he's kind of given up every game so far, and is his mind not right at the moment? I mean, is it a mental thing for him?
I think that kind of situation is, we can't really blame it on him being tired, which I think we've seen him wear down the last couple of years, 3 or 4, 3 years or so, where he's been overplayed in the middle of the season, and at the end he's giving up goals like that. You don't really want to see that, or in the playoffs. So you can't blame that. We just started the season. He should be fresh. I think it's just not performing as well as he needs to. And every goalie, there's goals you want back. Even the ones that are high quality chances, you certainly want those back. They want to stop all of them. I don't think his mind is elsewhere in any way, shape, or form. Just not where he needs to be right now, physically, mentally, being as present as he needs to be. So goaltending is a strange, magical situation. These goalies, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they face what they face. So I think you just have to ride it out, and he's going to probably get a few more starts in the next few games here, and he's got to be able to work through it. And the Islanders, again, have to be able to be a little bit tighter defensively to make him, it's not about not seeing pucks. You don't need to keep him to 15 shots a game, just to be able to keep the quality down so that he's not, straining himself, stretching around, so that he's maybe expecting something that's a little bit better on a clear sight chance that he ends up giving up a bad goal on.
Sure. And speaking of getting some games in the upcoming schedule, do you think Patrick Roy is kind of sticking to the original plan here, or maybe because of the start he saw out of Riddick, does he get a little more games for that guy?
I think the results will dictate it.
Yeah.
You have your set plan, but obviously the things can change. If Sorokin's not getting it done again, maybe you give Riddick an extra start somewhere in the next couple of weeks. If you're only going to give him one, maybe you give him two. But I think it really is dictated by what Sorokin is doing in the net. And that's probably the way it should be as you get into the season. When you start off, you need to have that plan, and he certainly needs to get a break every now and again. But if he's not getting it done, you got to win games. So he might end up losing a start or two here.
Yeah, and to go back to your point about having to make those big saves, like the ones that Shesterkin is making, the goalies that are expected to make those big saves, and he's not really getting them here. I guess that's just the biggest concern for me, is that he's been considered a top 5, top 10 goalie for pretty much since he came into the league, right? And for one reason or another, he's just having a real hard time kind of bailing this team out when he needs to. Maybe there is another point or two in the standings if he happens to just make that extra save, and for whatever reason you're getting some that are skittering through his pads. Maybe it's going over his glove when it shouldn't. I guess that's just the one concern for me, that hopefully he starts to make those saves he's supposed to.
Yeah. I mean, he knows he has to. Yeah. He has to step up. If you want to be considered in that elite class, and a few years ago when he was a finalist for the Vezina, he was in that elite class, and I don't know that we've seen him consistently enough to be able to do it over 50 starts in a season. You're not going to post whatever Connor Hellebuck posted last year. Shesterkin had his amazing Vezina year a few years ago. Maybe those guys are a notch or two above him at this point, but you can still win games and be successful. Neither of those other guys has a Stanley Cup ring, as far as I can tell.
Right.
You don't have to be the .940 save percentage goalie who steals a point or two every night. Right. Obviously, you're going to have your moments, but maybe he can be more like a Sergei Bobrovsky, where you start to peak as the season goes on and understand how your body works, when you're going to be at your most elite level. So I think Sorokin is old enough now that he should have figured this stuff out, and I'm sure that he will, because the commitment they made to him was appropriate. I don't think he earned his contract.
For sure,
he's been a high-level goalie. We just need to see a little bit more, and certainly kind of the beginning and the end of the season is really, to me, the most important times. You got to set a tone, especially for a team that missed the playoffs last year, and then at the end of the season to be able to get your team into the playoffs and be able to do something once you're there.
Well, he definitely has room for growth, because he's at a 4.13 goals against and 8.61 save percentage through his 4 games. So maybe he can creep a little closer to that 940 you were talking about with any luck anyway. But that's going to do it for On the Line, presented by Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein, attorneys at law, ready to fight when your good name is on the line. So we're going to take a break and then go to What's on tap.
When in need of representation, it's not always easy to know where to turn. But whether you've been accused of a crime or need to go to court, Razor, Kniff & Lonstein, attorneys at law, have you covered with over 100 years of combined experience. With offices in Manhattan, Mineola, and Suffolk, Razor, Kniff & Lonstein is an award-winning law firm specializing in criminal defense with additional expertise in business debt settlement, trust and estates, personal injury, and more. At Razor, Kniff & Lonstein, you'll have direct access to your attorney 24/7. Because more attentive service translates to better outcomes. You deserve legal representatives with national recognition and a strong track record of delivering results. And Razor, Kniff & Lonstein are ready to fight for you. Call 212-LAW-1500 or go to razorandkniff.com to schedule a free, no-risk consultation today. That's RAISERANDKENNIFF.com. Razor, Kniff & Lonstein. We win cases because we make your problems our problems.
Hey there, welcome back. We missed you too. Now kick up your feet and settle back in to Hockey Night in New York.
That's right, folks. Settle back into Hockey Night in New York. It's time for What's on Tap, where we look ahead at the Islanders' upcoming schedule. And Tuesday, the 21st, the San Jose Sharks come to town from the West Coast. 7 p.m. puck drop. This is a young rebuilding team developing a prime scheduled loss for the New York Islanders here on Tuesday. No game is easy here. There's no easy outs. However, the Sharks are a team that the Islanders should beat at home. Will they?
I mean,
what do you got?
Crystal ball. I'm recalling the one, was it 2 years ago when Anthony Duclair, when they were.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Blew a 3-goal lead and then lost in overtime. That one was. Oof.
Yes, that was rough. yes. That's bringing back good memories.
Yeah, probably shouldn't have brought that up. But that was even a different Sharks team. They're even younger and a little bit more experienced.
Right, yeah.
But they also are currently winless. So
yes,
that's a dangerous situation for the Islanders.
Exactly.
Whether you've got a guy looking for his first NHL goal or a team looking for their
the
first
New York
NHL
Islanders.
Win, the Islanders are your opponent that you want to see. But I feel like it's a good opportunity to win that third in a row. Maybe have a complete game. Maybe shut down some of those chances that we were talking about that'd
be great.
Get way too many of.
Yeah.
So, Macklin Celebrini coming in and his crew of young guys. We'll see what the Islanders have in store for him.
We will. Moving on to Thursday, the 23rd, versus the Detroit Red Wings. 7 p.m. start there as well. They are 5-1, lost their first one, and now riding a 5-game winning streak. Top of the Atlantic. Is the Yzer plan finally bearing fruit here, Arthur?
It seems to be. I was watching a little bit of their game today with Edmonton, where they completely dominated that game, and learned the name Emmett Finney, 7th-round pick out of the Western League. Has about 10 AHL games, comes right in. He's playing top line with the Wings now. Had 2 goals today, goal and 2 assists.
How about
like that? Yeah. That's
why not?
I thought all their good young guys were Swedes, but apparently they got a Canadian kid who showed up and showed out, and they've got some veterans mixed in there. Dylan Larkin's playing really well. They've got a goalie now in John Gibson, so maybe that's going to change some of their fortunes. But yeah, I didn't see 5-1 coming, and that division is really kind of tipped on its head a little bit. They're 5-1. Montreal's up near the top 2. Tampa's really struggling. It's an interesting situation over there. So Detroit's going to be another tough one this week.
Yeah, for sure. But you look at the first 10 to 15 games of a season. And even though you see trends like this, they do have habits, not all the time, but of reversing, right? Like, how many times did Buffalo start out 10-2, right? And then just go the complete other way?
They've really skipped that step. Although I have 1-2 in a row. I shouldn't say that. But so they are in the same trajectory as the Islanders, 0-3. And they've won their last 2.
Right.
So I can't say that they're completely
be careful
right now. But they are the Sabres. What is it, 14 years since their last playoff appearance?
Tough to be a sports fan in that town.
Oh my gosh, it's really difficult. And and they still show up for the Sabres too, which is really, really disheartening that they keep pulling the rug out from under them. But again, that is a tough division. Detroit's playing really well. I'm interested to see how the Islanders handle them. I don't know how high-powered the Detroit offense has been, but again, the Islanders seem to turn no offense teams into high-powered offenses so far this season.
This is true.
So,
this is true.
Again, another opportunity to kind of put a team that maybe the Islanders match up pretty well with skill-wise. Control the play, control the chances, keep the score 3-2, 2-1. Well,
sure.
I'd like to see the Islanders. Those games are boring. That was kind of the Islanders' bread and butter under Barry Trotz and Lou Lamoriello. But give
me more of that bread and butter.
Maybe we can go back to a couple
I am fine
of
eating
those.
from that plate anytime.
Exactly.
So that is perfectly fine. So yeah, you got 2 winnable games here at home.
Sure.
Before a matinee, 12:30 Saturday in Philadelphia. The Flyers 2-1. You got Rick Tocchet behind the bench there. Another young team trying to rise up. What's going to happen on Saturday, Arthur?
Ooh.
Tell us. What's the final score?
2 afternoon games already out of the first 5, and 3 out of the first 8.
There's a lot this year.
I know. It's interesting. Philly, not a team I expected a whole lot from. They've kind of been up and down. It's interesting to me to kind of see all the stuff around Matvei Michkov, who Tocchet has already benched a couple of times in games. And there was such a controversy last year when John Tortorella did it and was trying to, teach Michkov how to be an NHL player. And people were like, this Torts, he's the worst. And now Tocchet's doing it. It's like, I guess it's okay now. They got their coach in there. So, I think Philly is, again, they're a notch or 2 above San Jose, but it's a similar situation. Team that's rebuilding, made it very apparent that they're rebuilding. I think they've signed a couple of guys that people were already talking about in the preseason. Like, all right, well, they added Christian Dvorak. It's like, we can get rid of him at the trade deadline if things go the way everybody thinks they're going to go. So, Islanders can't take anybody for granted.
No,
obviously going down to Philly. What was it? The stretch of. Was it 10 years that they went without winning in Philly? It might have even been longer than that.
Yeah, I remember
I was covering
that.
the team a lot during those years. And
and then they flipped that.
They did. They've won a
Yeah.
lot there in the last few years, but it was a long, long stretch.
Yeah, I remember that.
Philly, and that place, man, when they yelled at them, and the PA announcer says, and they're going on the Pico power play, and that burned in my head after all those years of being down there. But yeah, I mean, this is a good week. The Islanders could really get something going with 2 or 3 wins this week and kind of put that bad start behind them.
And who knows? By the end of the week, they could have a winning record.
Yeah,
anything's possible.
Wow.
Yeah,
you're suggesting some wild stuff here.
Listen,
man.
We like to get crazy here every now and then. So welcome to the party, pal. All right. Tuesday, the 28th, the Islanders are going to Boston. We're going back to Borelli's Tap Room in Long Beach. We're going to be hanging out, talking more Islanders hockey. That is a 7:15 puck drop. Which is a little strange, right?
It is odd.
Not very common.
No.
But that's what's happening. 6 p.m. show for us. Pre-game show down at Borelli's. Going to be a good time. Boston is a 500 team right now. They are 3-3. Another team you're not really expecting much from, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're, again, this is outside of Detroit, who maybe going into the season you didn't expect much from. This is a good stretch for the Islanders. Pile up some points, get some confidence. At least Sorokin gets some confidence. The team gets some confidence playing defense. These are all winnable games, and hopefully they can get some points out of these and kind of set themselves off on a good path.
That would be nice. So if you can't make it down to Borelli's on the 28th to hang with us for that Boston game, make sure you hang out with us at 6 o'clock for the live pregame show. And that will do it for What's on Tap. And now we move on to Hero of the Week. Presented by Knock Hockey. That is right, the all-time classic. I got to get some Knock Hockey games in, man. It's been a long time, but
the table right here.
It's like the perfect size. Yeah. It's waiting for it.
I know.
We got to get a table on there. But go to knockhockey.com, check them out, get your board today, nokhockey.com. So, Hero of the Week. Let's keep taking turns, Arthur. I went first last week.
Oh, okay.
So, you're up. What do you got?
I'm going with the obvious, Bo Horvat for me. The hat trick against Edmonton and goal again on Saturday. This is a guy who, again, not the dominant leader, maybe not Nathan McKinnon, not a Sidney Crosby, but he's the number 1 center on this team, and he certainly took the reins on Thursday in a very important situation, scoring that shorthanded goal to kind of flip the ice a little bit, get them back, get the crowd back into it.
Yeah.
Power play goal was kind of vintage Bo Horvat from his office at the top of the bumper there.
For sure.
And then the empty netter to finish off his first hat trick as an Islander. Couldn't have been a bigger spot for that. So that's what you want to see out of a guy who is wearing an A. Maybe in the future we'll be wearing a C for this organization.
I think so.
And then on Saturday, again, contributing in a kind of wild offensive game. But, I like the chemistry that he's developing with Jonathan Drouin and Emil Heineman. I think he's a guy who can really play with anybody, and he's just that's the guy who took charge this week, so it's good for me.
Yeah, no, he was excellent. I think that's a great pick. Speaking of the C, though, I went with Anders Lee. Obviously, no, I don't think so. Now, as you mentioned earlier in the show, he was in the right place at the right time, taking that shot off of Shabanov. But that's his office, right? That's where he needs to be. Put that big body in front of the net. He gets credit for the goal there. And, of course, we talked about it earlier. Jordan Spence gets clowned a little bit by Anders Lee with just over a minute to go. I feel like in years past, something like that happens to the Islanders before the end of a game. So it was really nice to see Anders Lee kind of turn the fortunes there for us. So big goal with a minute left, and you're crossing your fingers like, oh, yeah, hopefully that's enough. Hopefully they're not giving up another one. They hang on. The captain gets the goal there, and a solid start for him so far.
Absolutely. Now he's up to, I think, 291 goals in his career, getting close to 300. We've talked about this is the last year of his contract.
Right.
He's been captain for 8 years, longest in franchise history. It's a guy who he does things the right way. He's just a really admirable professional athlete, a guy who always says the right things. He's an incredible team player. Thinking back to when they chose him as captain kind of on the eve of that 18-19 season, it was a bit of a surprise then when Tavares had just left, and maybe they were going to go into that season without a captain.
Right.
Picked him. It was the right choice. And this guy, he scored goals from day one that he was here. Remember that pop fly goal he scored against the Jets when he first came up at the end of his first season? That's all he does. He scores goals, and he's a big, strong dude, and I think just the confidence that he always exudes on the ice, it's great to see. He's a exemplary Islander. Brock Nelson was the same. He's gone now. You don't want to think about Anders Lee not being here, but while he's here, scoring big goals like that is really important.
Yeah, and just to reiterate your point there, I mean, you go those 8 years since he was named captain. I mean, just hit it on the nose. I mean, this guy's proven far and above why he was chosen as captain. Just exemplary through and through.
Yeah.
So there's your heroes, folks. Bo Horvat, Anders Lee, and now it's time to take a trip to the Snake Den.
Welcome to the Snake Den with Jake the Snake Redondo.
That introduction never gets old. Welcome to the Snake Den, Jake. How you doing, pal?
Doing good. I did just watch the Giants suffer maybe one of the most brutal losses I've seen.
Did you suffer along with them?
I
Are you all right?
I closed the laptop.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So what do you got for us tonight?
Well, I wanted to start off with our trivia question that was in the chat earlier. So I asked our viewers, after Mike Bossy, which Islander has the most playoff hat tricks? Was it Ray Ferraro, Brian Trottier, Clark Gillies, or Dennis Potvin?
Ooh. I have a guess.
Okay.
I have a guess. You want to go first?
No, I don't. I would like to see you go first.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at 19 straight playoff series wins, right? And that's a lot for that team. So I feel like it's got to be a guy from that era. So I'm going to go with Brian Trottier.
And that would be correct.
Look at me.
Hey,
look at me. Just mathing it out.
Also, the chat did good on that, too. 55% of people picked him. So good work.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you. Were you going to pick Trottier?
Probably.
All right. I believe you. All right. So what do you got for us? You in the system or around the boards?
We're in the system.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff that has been happening with prospects. And, with good this stuff, time of being excited about prospects, I thought, let's talk about them. So let's start with Bridgeport. They're 1-2-1 to start the season, which maybe is a little better than what they were doing last year.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
1 win in 4 games.
3
Outstanding.
points in 4 games, but it's the guys there who are playing there are doing great. Long Island Zone, they have 2 guys there. Marshall Warren won AHL Player of the Week 2 weeks ago with 2 goals and 2 assists in 2 games. And he's from Laurel Hollow. And then Ross Mitten, who's actually just loaned to the ECHL Railers. He got a goal in a game, and he's from Copiague Harbor.
Nice. Okay.
And big news that Cal Ritchie's back. He's healthy. He debuted last week.
Excellent.
He scored right away.
Okay. We like that.
Great play set up by Alex Jeffries.
Very
Stripped
nice.
the puck. Cal was in the right spot, put it home. He's looked great. I'm sure that's someone that we're going to see at some point this season. I think that they've been referencing that a decent amount. But it's good to see him on the ice with just being maybe the top prospect in the system. So that was good to see. And then Matthew Maggio, who's someone we haven't really talked about in a little while.
Right.
He's having a good start to the year with 3 points in 4 games, a goal and 2 assists.
Okay.
So it's good to see someone who's been around in the system for a couple of years kind of getting his footing again, I think, after a little bit of a lost year last year.
Sure.
But positive signs in Bridgeport. The guys are developing. It looks like probably a little better than they were in the past.
Okay.
And then we could take it to Boston University, where there's 2 Islanders prospects. You have Cole Eiserman. This kid could score 5 goals
we've heard.
in 5 games. 7 points. I mean, he's just got a knack for the net, and it's just great to see him do that and just taking the next step forward and just keep potting goals. And then his teammate, Kamil Bednarik, he's a goal and 2 assists in 5 games. So they're both at Boston. Boston's also ranked number 1 in the nation right now. So we might even get to see some playoff hockey from them, Frozen Four action later on in the year. Other guys who are in the NCAA, Danny Nelson has a goal and an assist in 4 games. He's over at Notre Dame. And then at Wisconsin is Quinn Finley, who has 2 goals and assist in 4 games. He had a great year last year. That's definitely someone to keep an eye on. I think he's probably a little bit further out than some of the other guys. But it's good to see that those guys are producing at the NCAA level as well. And then we have the in the Western Hockey League, Thomas Polden, 6 goals in 6 games.
Okay.
That's a name that I'm not too familiar with, but I mean, I saw it on Twitter.
Is that the dude that got drafted this summer who was picked number 1 overall?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
He was the import for the Western League.
Okay.
Czech Republic.
That's what I thought.
So.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So 6 goals in 6 games. It's cool to see.
I guess we know why he went number 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice to see someone else potting goals in another part of Canada up there. And then OHL, Barry Colts, Kashawn Aitchison, 6 goals and 5 assists in 11 games. He's a defenseman. He's scoring 6 goals, 2 on the power play too, which is always a good sign. Being an Islander fan, seeing defensemen score on power plays.
Yes, that's
my
absolutely
favorite
true.
highlight of his so far, though, is he threw one of his signature big hits and just laid somebody out and was ready to fight, and nobody came near this kid.
Love it.
He was
Yeah,
just
I
like,
love that.
All right, bring it on. And everyone was like, nope, nobody wants that smoke on the whoever team.
Yeah,
was
it was
playing,
a big open ice hit, and he's literally just standing there like, really, nobody wants to fight
Who
me?
wants it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's cool to have also someone who's threatening like that too. That
I can't wait till he comes up. Like,
Me too.
Whether it's a year or 2, whatever it is, whatever the guy needs, but I can't wait because I think he's going to have that building rocking.
I think, that crowd pop from him just laying that first big hit as an Islander at home.
I saw one of his sellies too after he scored one of his recent goals. He's doing the whole like shirt rip afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, he's pumped up.
These are kids with personality. You know, Matthew
Yes.
Schaefer has personality, but he seems like a pretty calm, even-keeled guy.
Yeah.
I think Aitchison and Cole Eiserman are guys that are really really Islander fans are really going to love when they get here.
Yeah, they have moxie, I would put it that way for sure. And then other than that, the other first-round pick this year, Victor Eklund, playing over in Sweden. Still hasn't scored a goal yet, but he is racking up assists, which is nice. He's playing in that top league over there now. He picked up 3 assists in his last 5 games. So good development from all the guys in the system. It's nice just to have that breath of fresh air of prospects playing good and playing all over the world doing it.
No, you're absolutely right because, you gave us a prospect update, the last time you were here with us, and it was more just like, okay, these names sound great. They were picked where they were picked. Now let's find out what they can do. And it is very refreshing to hear that there are players in the Islander system that are producing.
Yes.
I am new to the show. Was this segment like 30 seconds long the last couple of years because they just had no prospects doing anything anywhere?
This is a little new. So it was a little more freeform with the Snake Den, but we decided to zero in a little more on that stuff because there's actually guys to talk about. Not only are there guys, but they're actually performing.
Yes. Last year it was
because it would have been 30 seconds in the
Last
past.
year it was just, what is Cole Eiserman doing at school?
Yeah, that was essentially the update. Yeah. How's Cole doing?
Now we can rally
Taking
off.
a history class. It's just enjoying life as a freshman.
It's nice. So we can now rally off 8 to 10 guys, which makes it more than 30 seconds.
Yeah, and even despite the 1 win and 4 for Bridgeport, it is nice to hear that the young guys who you're worried about, right, who you're concerned about coming up, are putting up some points and putting up some production. So, I mean, I'd say that's a nice little update there from.
Yeah, I mean, Marshall Warren, what a nice story. Too.
Yeah,
a guy who, came into the organization. Not a lot of expectations. He's 24 years old now,
right?
A few years out from his draft year, but clearly had a great camp.
Yeah,
played really well in preseason, and you're like, okay, climbing the depth chart a little bit. Obviously, Isaiah George seems to be that lefty guy who's going to be the next guy called up if they need somebody to step in.
Yeah,
but you want to just get in line and playing in his home area, and off to a great start here. So you just get your name in the mix, and looking at the way the Islanders' defense is played, maybe there's going to be a need at some point in the next few months.
Never know.
They need some guys that can play up the ice, that can skate. Maybe Marshall Warren isn't the biggest guy,
right?
But if you show you can handle yourself at that AHL level, just put yourself in position to get called up when the Islanders need somebody. So good for him.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And speaking of George, did you happen to see any stat lines for him or how he's been playing?
I don't think too much. I think he's
zeros across so far.
Yeah, I'm pretty.
Okay.
I think he's playing very heavy minutes down there.
That's good to hear.
I think they're getting him ready for the sort of what he's going to see when he comes up. He really didn't have a chance to do that last year. It was his first pro year.
Right.
And all of a sudden, he's in the NHL for 30
Right,
games.
right. Everybody collapsed.
Had some great moments.
Yeah.
But clearly was not quite ready for a full season of that. So here now, he can be that number one defenseman. He can play 22, 23, 24 minutes down in Bridgeport. And you got to get used to that, to the heavy, offensive style players that you're going to see, the top 6 guys that are coming against you. So, I think he needs to adjust. He's still such a young guy.
Yeah.
It's incredible, 21 years old. This is a guy we're going to see at some point for sure.
No doubt. So what a positive moment here in the Snake Den Hockey Night in New York, right? I mean, just, the prospects.
Jake's always positive.
Oh, of course he is.
I try my best.
When the Giants blew that game, he closed the laps up so gently. It was just so...
You could barely hear it.
In any way, it was just like, okay, well, it happens.
I was yelling on the inside.
That's what we all do here at Hockey Night in New York. It's true. But great stuff, man. Glad to hear that all those players are doing well down in the system. And that'll do it for the Snake Den, ladies and gentlemen. So after that, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about our pals at Isles Fix. That's right, Islanders Country. Get your daily fix of Isles news, highlights, and analysis by subscribing to Isles Fix, the Monday through Friday Islanders newsletter sent directly to your inbox. Sign up for free or become a paid subscriber for added benefits at ilesfix.substack.com. And now it's time to go to Questions Brewing.
It's time for Questions Brewing. So go ahead, ask us a question.
Oh, yeah. Welcome aboard, Ed. How we doing, pal? How we doing tonight?
How you doing?
Doing all right, man.
Doing
What's
good.
going on?
Yeah.
I like your jacket.
Thanks. It's an Islanders jacket.
It does say Islanders on it. That was a clear giveaway.
Yeah, I had a
Yes.
good day. It was my dad's birthday on this very day.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to my dad. Shout out. He's definitely
right.
not watching the show, but
Oh,
happy birthday.
That's disappointing. All right. Thanks, Dad.
He's busy right now with
That's
my
fair.
nieces and nephew.
Okay.
We'll kick it off with the poll here.
Let's do it. Yeah,
we
we
had a
got-
little poll. Which Islander have you been most impressed with? Is it between Riddick, Drouin, Shabanov, or Heineman? And Maxim Shabanov
Okay.
All
has
right.
taken the lead.
Okay.
Jake, you made this poll?
I did.
Did you omit Schaefer to make it like somewhat fair?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious.
I felt like
Clever.
that would
Clever.
have been like
Who is this player, the second most
Yes.
impressive
Yeah.
player so
You're
far?
right.
I get it.
But we're gonna start off with Arthur's friend Blue Cheese,
All right.
All right.
who
back,
asked
Rob.
with a great question. Do you think the
Consistency.
last 2 games with Schaefer coming down to earth a bit are a result of teams preparing for him while having him be more conservative, or natural regression?
Regression. He's 18 years old. I mean, I think it's just we're seeing what we're seeing.
Right.
You get the whole gamut with an 18-year-old, even one as talented as him. I think he was running on adrenaline and whatever else fuels teenagers these days. Those
Sure.
first couple of games,
Starbucks? I
at
don't know.
home. I don't know, Red Bulls, whatever.
Right.
And those offensive situations, I think I think Patrick Roy basically said, like, we need a goal, get out there and help us.
Yeah,
And he's been doing that his whole life. So I think he handled those minutes well. I don't want to be a negative Nelly, but you do worry about seeing some of the things like we saw. We crashed face first into the boards against Edmonton, took the
Right.
stick up high.
Right.
These things are
Yeah,
going to
very
happen.
scary moments.
Yeah, you don't touch the franchise. But
Golden child.
But I think just seeing him play 17, 18 minutes, make some mistakes, get outworked physically, this is going to happen. You want
Yeah.
him to have those learning moments that you can continue your development.
Right.
You don't want to lose games as a result of it. But I think you want to see him just fit in and be part of the crew. And then in 5 or 10 games, when you need that extra push late in the game or a late power play, then he's got the energy and the oomph to make something happen. And he's also got the smarts, the things that he's learned.
Yes.
Because he's a smart kid.
Yes.
To kind of make things happen and know, like, all right, I can try this. I've tried it before. It doesn't work at this level, so I need to try something else. So yeah, this is just part of the deal. And I think we're going to see more of it. A lot of ups and downs, hopefully more ups, and I think it'll all be good.
And try to stick with him when the point streak eventually ends.
Sure.
I mean, hopefully it's 82.
But just
Hopefully it's 82.
The fact that he's out there and he's getting all these puck touches, and some of them are, whether it's a secondary assist or whatever, he's out there when positive things are happening. That's also part of the learning experience, which is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Good one, Rob.
Yeah. So next from Jonathan Doe, he asks, is it concerning that Romanov is already nursing injuries and is seemingly the only roster player besides Mayfield that plays physical and edge?
Well, I don't know. I guess we got to find out if this is just, a flash in the pan injury type of thing,
Yeah, he did go from day to day to missing a few weeks last year. That kind of like,
yes.
I don't know whether that's a Lou Lamoriello organization secrecy type thing, whether it was bad from the beginning or whether it was something that was bad. I know he tried to come back from it, was played in a game after a couple of games and then disappeared for whatever it was, 3 weeks or so. So I understand the concern because he has this history, pretty recent history. And he really, that was kind of the best game that we've seen from him against Edmonton. So you don't want him to be able to say, like, I've got to go hit 12 people and do all the stuff and suddenly you're going to get hurt again.
Right.
So, I think there's some concern. And obviously, the guys that we were talking about with Jake, you do have some depth to call up, but not anybody that plays the way that Romanov does. So, I think being physical is important. I think the Islanders' defense, the problems that they've had giving up chances, and that's the team as a whole, not just the actual defensemen,
right,
is not about because they're not physical enough. They're just not doing enough system-wise to keep pucks from being in dangerous areas. So, I certainly understand the concern, but I think, like you said, Sean, we'll have to wait and see how serious this could be.
There you have it. What do you got, Ed?
Thomas Boyle asks, when his contract expires, do you see McDavid coming here?
Come on, man. Oh, T. Boyle. It wouldn't be an episode of Hockey Night in New York without you.
No.
You
take that one.
Yeah, no. The answer is no. But, I did raise, and this has nothing to do with the Islanders, but I did raise that curiosity about the 2 years, right? And how you explained very well how the guy just probably wants to stack more money on top of the next contract, right? But, I am curious if he's not an Oiler after 2 years.
Yeah, I think it depends on what they do.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see, I do really believe you're going to see Austin Matthews do that too in Toronto if he decides to re-up there. I think these guys who's, they've had a couple, bites at the apple. Connor McDavid's gotten a lot closer, I think, than Matthews has, but I think getting close and not winning, not necessarily seeing the improvements in the areas that he wants to see. I'm sure he's keeping an eye out. Him and his agent are keeping an eye on what's going on around the league, and you want to hit that sweet spot of being a contender with some cap space and a need for a guy like him when his contract is up. I don't know if the Islanders can get there in a couple of years, but he is an Erie Otter alum, just the same as Matthew Schaefer is. Maybe there's some first overall pick.
Look at that
synergy there. You never know.
Right. Maybe they met at some dinners.
That's right.
Team
the
dinners.
alumni network is strong, I bet.
I think it would have to be like a WWE script, like his career on the line, win or lose, where is he going, SmackDown or Raw? Like his career's on the line. But the logic was,
and they folded
Islanders
like 10
beat Edmonton.
Franchises. Then it would be perfect.
Yeah, right.
10 very specific franchises.
Islanders go right to the top of the list.
Sure. There you go.
Jeremy Ford Hamlet asks, if the Isles are in a similar position at Christmas break, would you let Schaefer go and play the WJC?
I would, yeah. I think again, you're talking about development. You're talking about if the Islanders are at 500 or below, if they're still kind of doing this 2 good, 3 bad kind of thing for the first 3 months, I would definitely let him go. Kid could be the captain of the Canadian team. You get to go play with your peers, guys that he hasn't been able to play with for a while. High stakes. Yeah. Represent your country. I think that's a no-brainer if they are where they are. If I think there's a lot that goes into it with a guy of his caliber that maybe he's played so much already and he's going to go there and play maybe even more because he's here when it comes to the NHL, but he's here when he's with the guys his own age. So, I think that's a conversation. Him, his agent, Matthew Darsh, everybody's going to be involved in that one. And I'm curious to see if the Islanders can make it a moot point by being a really good team and sitting at the top of the standings when we get to December.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to ask you to follow up is under what circumstances wouldn't they send him to the WJC?
I think if they're going really well and they feel like, even if that's the case, if they feel like they can afford to let him go for 2 or 3 weeks, it is a long stretch.
Yeah.
You're missing a lot of games in that stretch of time. And it's kind of the dog days of the NHL season where a lot of the veterans maybe are not quite as motivated. It's a long season. So, I think if they feel like there's a need for him to be here, and I'm sure, for him, he feels like there's a need, but he also has never gotten to play there. So, he was injured last year. So I'm interested to see if he pushes for it at all, if his camp kind of pushes for it. It's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and Matthew Darsh is obviously aware of all of these situations. He's been an executive in the league for a long time. So I think those are conversations that are going to be ongoing up until Canada needs a decision as we get past our Thanksgiving, maybe into December. But yeah, I think
do you think personal accolades would play a role? As Tom Boyle said, he expects him to be in the running for the Norris, Calder, and Hart Trophy this year.
I don't think so.
Yeah, wouldn't play a role.
I think this kid has such a good head on his shoulders.
Yeah.
I think he really would love to represent his country there. I'm sure if the NHL players stay in the Olympics, he's going to get lots of chances for that as a pro. But yeah, it's, I don't know if I could give an answer right now, but I'm curious to see how it all unfolds.
There you go.
There you go. Matthew Sklarov asks, is there any chance that the Islanders will not burn Schaefer's first year of his ELC and send him down?
Zero.
Absolute
zero.
That's it?
That's it.
0 Kelvin.
All right.
What do you
0
got?
Kelvin. So we're going to go with another one from Jeremy Schaefer.
Okay.
I mean, not Jeremy Schaefer. I have Schaefer on my mind. It's
That's all we talk about
It's
around
Jeremy
here.
Ford Hamlet. Who would be your 5 on the power play, and in what configuration if you had the call?
Oh, you putting me in the coach's seat right
you
now?
take that.
I didn't prep for that
Coach
question.
Cuthbert.
So let's put 4 H's after that. Let's see. I mean, you got to go Horvat. You got to go Barzell. You got to go. I'll throw Shabanov in there and Schaefer.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Who's your net front guy in that group?
Horvat, maybe. Well, you like him in the bumper. I got another spot left, right? Schaefer,
think so.
Schaefer, Horvat,
Do you need a roster?
Barzell. I kind of do. Schaefer, Horvat, Barzell. All right, maybe you throw Anders Lee in front and you have Schaefer
So
on the
you'd
back.
pick Lee over Palmieri on the top unit, on your top unit.
What would you do if
mean, you
there's
saw
5
what
minutes
happened.
left and
You saw what
Watt pulls the goalie? Who do you have then?
I mean, I'm really on the spot here. Listen,
you-
I'm okay
now
with
we gotta add a
Lee
sixth
or
guy to this?
Palmieri. You know what?
We're going to be here for a while.
6 on 4. No, listen. Yeah, sure. I'm going to stick to it. Yeah, why not?
Okay. All right.
So,
I got a counter now?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
I would have Schaefer as my quarterback for
Yeah.
sure. Barzal, Horvat, Drouin, Palmieri, which is the current power play one. I think they picked the right guys. Actually, you know what? Drouin is a little bit of iffy for me. I needed to see a little bit more. He's got that opposite wing. He's in the opposite circle from Barzal. And I see the 29, and I'm like, oh, that's Brock Nelson. He's just going to shoot the puck when he gets it.
Right.
That's not happening. So I don't know if you need more of a shooter there. Maybe the guy, as his confidence builds in that spot, if he knows how to handle the puck well, is Emil Heineman. I think you just need Schaefer is not a shooter. You don't have a big threat to shoot from the top. The threat to shoot is the guy in the bumper. So you need, and Barzal's not really a huge threat to shoot either. So you need 2 guys to draw some people out. So I think they need more of a shooter than Drouin in that opposite wing spot. And I don't know who that guy is. And clearly they don't either because they have Drouin there now.
Right. Well, I would say overall you did a much better job with me on that. So, but thanks for throwing me under the bus there to start. What you got, Ed?
Next up from Dan Robinson, a.k.a. DTMR.
What's up, man?
He's back as Dan Robinson. He says, is it time to mix up the D pairs? Maybe separate Pulock and Pelech?
No, we were just talking about how good they've been the last 2 games. I mean, the first 3, yes, I absolutely would have said it, but also that was more to just kind of break up the Romanov-D'Angelo tire fire. So when Romanov comes back, I think you have to see if he's going to be any good with D'Angelo. If that's not working out, I don't know what you do.
Well, I think that's
go
I
ahead.
think that's why that question's brought in, because I guess you're like, okay, do we try to balance these pairs here? But we still got to wait to find out if we're getting that Pelech-Pulock combination that you touched on positively today.
Yes.
Right? Like, is that going to continue throughout the season? Now let's just have fun and assume it does. And you still have a problem with D'Angelo and Romanov. Maybe just split those pairs up. But like at the end of the day,
unfortunately, the way that you split those up to keep Schaefer's minutes up is you see if he can play the right side with Romanov. I don't think you can do a Schaefer, D'Angelo, Romanov, Mayfield. That feels worse than what they've got now. I think one of the solutions maybe, and it's too bad that the guys that are ready to be called up are lefties, because I don't know that Adam Boquist is really the answer. We saw him play. He was on his offside, but he wasn't that great on Saturday. If you could have a righty to spell D'Angelo for a little bit, because I think that, you're not going to sit Romanov. He's out now with the injury, but D'Angelo struggled a little bit. I think you need a guy in that spot who can skate a little bit, can provide some offense, maybe provide a little bit more calmness back there in the D zone. I think that's been Tony's main issue so far, is that he looks a little jumpy back there, and I think that's been an issue for him throughout his career when he's not going well.
Right.
So whether it's Isaiah George that can come up and play his offside, or George pairs with Mayfield and you can put Schaefer up there. I mean, Schaefer's shown he can do everything else. Why wouldn't he be able to play on his offside for a little bit?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, and it's funny, too, because I was the guy who was like, they might need to be cautious with Schaefer. Maybe you give him the 9 games and send him back. So now here I am about to say, maybe be cautious with Schaefer. You don't want to throw him on the opposite side. But then, of course, he goes over there and he's still, doing fine. Yeah,
I don't play both sides, honestly. He could do just maybe 1 defenseman and 4 forwards when he's out there. How about that?
You know what?
Just give it a shot.
Why not? Give it a shot.
A great question here from Paul Verized. He said, if the Rangers keep playing badly and are relocated to AHL status at the end of the season, would the Isles consider purchasing the team as an alternative to Bridgeport?
Wow, that's a lot. I mean, no, but
aren't the Rangers ahead of the Islanders?
Yeah, I don't even know.
I hate to point out.
I love that question.
Small little facts, but that is a good one. That's very creative.
Yeah, no, that's tough to answer positively too. Yeah, but a fun one nonetheless. What else you got?
Another one from Jeremy Ford Hamlet. We got, which prospect are you more excited about? These names, bear with me.
Fair enough.
Throw them out.
Palatine, Kvasnicka, Eklund, Aitchison, Nelson, Finley, Prokhorov, or Yzerman.
Oh, that was good, Ed.
You actually did a very good job.
The first few I haven't seen.
Bravo to you. It must have been the jacket.
It's the jacket.
I'm trying to remember all the names now. That was a long list. For me, I think it's Cole Yzerman. This is a guy who's he's got the attitude. He's got the ability to score goals. They don't have a scoring winger with that kind of dynamic personality and that dynamic style of play.
They rarely do, Arthur.
I mean, there's not a lot out there. He kind of gives off some Cole Caulfield vibes to me.
Okay,
I think Cole Caulfield doesn't have the big sellies that Yzerman does, but this kid I think is going to be such a perfect fit on Long Island when he gets here. I hope that he can round his game, the rest of his game, well enough. But he's playing very well. He's got a letter on his sweater now in BU as a sophomore. So that's a good sign of maturity for him.
For sure.
I was up there talking to him last year. I think talking to him about the excitement that he gets every time he scores a goal, and he's like, I watched, Alex Ovechkin is my idol. This guy celebrates every goal like it's his first. And he's like, that's great to me. And it's just like, that is the kid you want. You want somebody who doesn't care what people think and kind of that hockey, like the very buttoned up personality. Let it out.
Right.
They've got a guy in Matthew Schaefer who's going to be here for a long time and probably in a few years will be a great captain. So let's have some guys that have a little bit of FU to them. So to speak.
I like it. No, listen.
I think this kid is going to be really fun to watch, not just this year for Islander fans who want to see him playing college hockey, but down the road, maybe next year when he's a pro.
Yeah, I mean, so far so good. I'm excited about him. I think that's a great answer, and hopefully we're seeing more at Yzerman on the island sooner than later.
Yeah. What was that? I thought that was a piano. Speaking of Yzerman, Joe Com asked, will we see Cole Yzerman after the NCAA season ends?
That's very optimistic about when the Islanders season is going to end, I think. I think BU has pretty big aspirations this year. Like Jake was saying, ranked number 1. I think they had a couple of losses to Michigan State, so they might drop out of that spot. But when you start the season number 1, people think you're going to play deep into April. And if the Islanders are playing after that, great, bring them up. But let's see what happens first.
Yeah, I do like the optimism, though. Are we good?
I think we're good, yeah. I can't really find too many more.
Okay, fair enough. Well, then I guess that's going to do it for Questions Brewing, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us live in the chat, and thank you for your questions, and that means we're going to wrap this thing up. All right, folks, thank you once again for tuning in to Hockey Night in New York live with us here on YouTube and Twitter. Always a pleasure having you hang out with us. And a big, big thanks to our sponsors, starting with Knock Hockey. Less scrolling, more scoring. Get your board at knockhockey.com. NOK Hockey. And a huge thanks to Razor, Kniff, and Lonstein, attorneys at law. Nobody likes going to court, but if you have to, call 212-LAW-1500 for a free consultation. And hey, folks, remember, come hang out with us down in Long Beach on Tuesday, the 28th. Borelli's Tap Room, pregame show at 6. Gonna hang out, have some fun, watch some Islander hockey, and who knows, maybe another Islander win now that they're doing that these days.
They could be going for 7 in a row that night.
Hey, why not?
Yes.
Do 7.
Optimistic.
Let's go. Arthur, where can everybody find you on the internet?
I'm on Twitter at StapeNHL, Blue Sky. That's about it for now, but you never know what's coming down the pike in the next few weeks.
You never know. You can follow myself at Shawnee Hockey on Twitter. And Blue Sky, you can follow the show at Hockey Night NY on all social media platforms. And Jake the Snake Radonis, if people want more takes from the Snake, where are they going to find you?
Find me on X at Jake Radonis. That's Radonis.
There you have it. Now, folks, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe if you haven't already. We appreciate your support. And we'll see you at Borelli's Tap Room on the 28th. Have a great night.